Welcome back to the second half of the final round women's lead card coverage at the Glass Blown Open National Tour.
This is the second stop of the National Tour out of 6. I'm Paige Pierce.
And I'm Zoe Andyke. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, JomezPro, for being the most prolific coverage in the game. We want to thank Dynamic Discs and the PDGA for bringing them out here. And as you're checking out the scores, on the leaderboard, we have Catrina Allen still sitting in first place at 2 down. Paige Pierce is at 2 over. She has narrowed the gap a little bit, and Jessica Weese has fallen down to 3rd place. And here we are on hole 10. It's a par 3, 391 feet. You know it's uphill and then a lot of downhill for the last part of the green. The OB runs tight by the basket. I mean, it's at circle's edge, actually. There's a couple of trees on the left-hand side. The wind is whipping. The gallery is actually very existent. The largest Paige may have ever seen. I heard her quote in the first half.
And look at those banners. You can just see them waving around in the wind. Catrina grabbing an overstable disc that she trusts, but she just puts a little bit too much power on it, trying to get all the way down to the basket. Unfortunately, OB just over halfway down the fairway.
Man, you can see the discs getting all kinds of action from the wind, kind of being lifted and pressed, lifted and pressed. Looks like that one landed inbounds, though, quite a ways up the fairway.
Jessica Weese here with a low, flat, overstable shot. She gets a skip as well, and she wants that thing to sit, and it does.
It does.
Narrowly safe, and she's going to be very happy with that.
And Rebecca Cox is hoping her disc will get down and not give too big of a skip. She actually clips the tree. She is inbounds with the green flag. Nothing wrong with that.
Catrina from about 200 throws her PA1, stands still in the wind, and puts it in the bullseye. She will not even have to putt. That is a great feeling.
You hear the crowd just start roaring. I mean, that's a great shot. Securing the stress-free par here is, I mean, it's just, there's no words for how great that feels.
And Jessica, trying to choose between her Sonic and her Nexus AVR, goes with the AVR as it's more stable. She hits right by the basket, but skips to about 15 to 18 feet. It will be a tester because that wind is waving right in her face.
Paige running the birdie putt, and actually looks like the wind may have pushed it down a little bit, but she's a nice, easy distance for the putt. When I say easy, I don't mean easy, though. The wind is whipping, folks.
Jessica, unfortunately, a little high, a little bit left. It does not stick. She will have to settle for a bogey after a nearly pin-high drive.
And we'll see the ladies tapping in as we prepare for hole 11.
Yeah, and with Catrina carding another bogey here, the gap will be narrowed to 3 strokes, and we still have 8 holes to go.
I was just going to say that. Only being on hole 11, it's a par 3, 399 feet. Yeah, we've got a tight race here. It's exciting. You know that there's the highest amount of pressure you could possibly have. These ladies are leading the tournament, and Kat, with such a comfortable lead after 3 rounds, is losing strokes, and so the pressure that she might be putting on herself could be incredible. Paige's hat looks like it's blown off again. She hangs it out low and wide, staying safe in the fairway. That was a great shot for this wind.
Thanks. I decided to club down to my Lucid X Felon again. Just didn't want any chance of out of bounds at this point. It's kind of like, you know, all those practice rounds you put into play, you choose what disc you're going to throw, where you're going to try to land. When the wind picks up like this, or any weather, you know, adversity comes, you think automatically you have to change the game plan. You have to change, you know, what you think you're going to get on the hole and lower your expectations, because birdie in this wind is not really feasible.
Oh, and it looks like Jessica let go a little bit early right off the tee. And I think that's going to put her, it's definitely out of bounds, but it's going to put her only about a third of the way up the fairway.
Rebecca relying on her harp here. This is an overstable mid-range, and she makes it work. She's a little bit short, but she's got to putt right up at it. Jessica here with her gator. Puts a good amount of power on it. A little bit too much hyzer, but it sits down, and
that was
she's
a dependable gator.
Yeah. She's going to be happy with that.
Yes.
Catrina with her, I believe this is her F2. Great chip shot, sidearm chip shot, a great tool to have. And she just sits it right by the basket.
And Paige with that jump putt, definitely running it. It was aggressive. It was a great attempt, and it's actually not that far away from the basket. It was a good shot. Rebecca, I mean, you can see the wind whipping, and she's trying to figure out a stance, trying to figure out what she wanted there, but nothing is really going to cut through that wind.
So much so that she lays up from about 25. Does that shake Jess, though? Not a chance.
Wow. And Jessica knew she needed that putt, too. There's a lot of aggressive, spin in that putt.
Yeah. Great putt in the wind. I couldn't follow her lead, and I'm going to be missing this. And that stroke I just made up on hole 10, I will be giving right back on hole 11. So the lead now goes back to 4 strokes for Catrina, and we are moving on to hole 12.
Yeah, as you can see, Kat cleans up with the par, gaining that stroke back from Paige. And Rebecca is tapping in. Kind of an uncharacteristic miss there for the tap in. This is a time when players are frustrated. It's hard to, keep the brains inside of the ears. I always say, don't let them melt out. The conditions are rough. We're moving on to hole 12. It's a par 3, 314 feet uphill. The Velcro tree sits on the left, or magnetic tree, I guess I should say. And trees line the fairway just outside of the OB, all along the right-hand side. The wind is swirly on this corner of the course. We see a tailwind here, but I feel like for every single tee shot, at least on my card, it was changing.
Yeah, it was kind of a right to left tailwind. So it was making our disc want to hyzer out more. So even more so than the past 3 rounds, we have to commit to this anhyzer release. And I do so with my Lucid X Felon. Finally, I'm super excited just to hit the gap. And I get down there just past the basket, about a 15-footer.
Jessica's trying to follow your lead there. She puts a little bit more wrist angle on it, unfortunately, and it just never actually had a chance to hyzer back in from the out of bounds.
Rebecca letting it go a tiny bit late, kind of hits some of those branches on the right side and makes it slow down and hyzer out on the left side of the fairway. She should actually have a decent look at it from the left side. Jessica with this sonic in this wind. I called her crazy after that shot. I was like, what are you doing, crazy? I mean, that shot was great, but if you guys haven't watched the previous rounds, I'm telling you, this is a catch frisbee that she's throwing. And in this round, it's 25-mile-an-hour winds. And she's making it look easy.
It's incredible. Such a well-rounded player with, historic and new and incredible discs that she understands how to throw and how to throw them very well. Paige for the birdie putt, and she cashes in, taking a stroke back. I mean, this is a serious battle. This is my favorite kind of golf right here, where we're going fairway to green, hole for hole, point for point. Rebecca, that's a beautiful putt. Again, you guys got to remember 20-footers feel like 40-footers. 15-footers feel like 30-footers. That was great. Jessica cashing in on her bogey. And this is Kat's par putt. Nice and easy. A little bit of a score change up. And I believe it's within 3 here. Hole 13. It's par 3, 394 feet. All up the left-hand side looks pretty challenging and tricky. You don't see too many people ever take a sidearm. Most people are hanging it wide over the OB and hoping their disc will hyzer and skip back and not skip too far so that they're snookered either by a tree or finding OB left.
Yeah, so in this case, I just got a stroke back. I'm looking to get some more. I'm going Ballista Pro wide over the sidewalk, knowing it will be something that will finish overstable and get me down there. I do go a little bit deep. I'm about a 28-footer, farther than I wanted, but I'm just happy to be in bounds with a chance.
Yeah, that was an incredible drive. And Kat's keeping hers a little bit lower. She didn't want to hang hers quite as high. Get all kinds of ground action, and that was also an incredible shot. She's just outside of the circle, pin high left.
Rebecca here with her Opto Explorer. She's going a little bit inside the sidewalk, and this is going to cause her to go OB. You really have to stress the importance of keeping it over the sidewalk, especially with this right to left wind today. This green is quite skippy, and that's something we've talked about in previous rounds, that, you know, a lot of these greens are super skippy, and then you have some that are like Velcro, and that's part of what goes into our practice routines, is just learning these greens and which holes do get the skip and which holes do not.
Jessica's upshot with that Sonic again. Well placed.
Yeah, that one blew my mind.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
That one actually blew my mind. I just stood at where her mini was for a while, thinking about throwing a catch disc, and I couldn't comprehend it. I told her I would love to throw that disc at the end of the round just to see what it takes to throw it in this wind.
And Paige missing her birdie putt, but not landing far from the basket for the easy par. Jessica's carding her par, moving on. It's a great score. Pars are gold. And Kat's just tapping in for her par as well. Great score. Nothing really changes there. We are moving on to hole 14. It's a par 4, 574 feet. Tons of room on the left-hand side. It's clearly the most real estate. However, this is a really fast and skippy fairway as well. Any player can throw what they think is a perfect shot, and because of that hill funnel and the fast greens, you can find OB really easily. You can also take the hyzer shot, which looks like Paige is lining up for. You got to challenge that OB and miss those trees. Excellent height and no problem.
Yeah, we had a big right to left wind, so that was a clear choice today in this wind. I didn't actually practice it, so it was a game time decision, and you know, I just relied on my Biofusion Defender there, and it had a nice overstable finish.
Kat is taking the opposite path all the way up to the basket. Great execution. She gets all of that Annie angle on it. A safe little skip and roll out. She has found the place on the fairway she wants to be.
And honestly, I think that's the best spot you could be on this hole. That left side just really opens up your approach. It kind of takes this low-hanging branch that you have to contend with out of the way, and Jessica and Catrina are going to be on the better side of that.
Yeah, looks like Rebecca's hoping to take the hyzer gap or at least split the trees, which I think didn't quite happen. I think she got clipped down by the trees there. Taking her second shot up the middle. staying clear of the trees there. Oh, she caught just the edge of the blossoming one. So a little bit tougher to get up the fairway there. As you can see, Jess is trying to stay underneath that low-hanging branch, which challenges everybody approaching.
And she does. She gets pinned high about 25 feet to the left. Catrina up next with her PA1. She throws it low and under the branch on a hyzer and gets a skip. She is going to be super happy with that, about a 15-foot putt or less.
Paige throwing the hyzer around the backside of the tree. Oh, man, it almost looked like you even hit the cage, close to the cage there. Right now, Kat and Paige are throwing some incredible shots. They know they're battling. Jessica and Rebecca, same idea. They're following suit. Each player is looking like they're throwing their best shots, or at least attempting to. This is exciting. We're on hole 14 here. We're coming into the last few holes of the Glassblown Open National Tour.
Yeah, and with there only being 6 national tours a year, these are super important to us, and there's a lot on the line. At the end of the year, we have a national points race winner, and, this really goes to show you your consistency throughout the year. So this is a huge tournament for us, and the biggest one numerically as well.
Excellent putt. Excellent hole for Kat. She's just cashed in on a birdie. You guys can see the wind is just throwing debris around. I think players really kind of needed sunglasses for sure, or a hat today.
Looks like it's snowing.
I know. So it looks like Paige also gets the birdie there. Both competitors are staying strong, entering hole 15, par 3, 347 feet. We have seen the ladies pin this. We have seen the ladies birdie this. We haven't seen these wind conditions yet. Oh my gosh, this is getting exciting.
Yeah, and at this point, we can really feel it whipping. We have this sidewalk all along our left, and we have this green all on our right side, and any OBs go to the drop zone, so we know it could be a 2-stroke swing here if you go OB. That's all I'm thinking about is land it in bounds with my Lucid X Felon, and I'm happy to have about a 40-foot putt.
Yeah, it looks like it was just outside of the circle there. Great shot. Kat keeping it low, however, hanging it over the out of bounds, hoping for that skip, and gets it. The crowd is definitely excited. She's in bounds.
Jessica here with her Scorpius. This one's really overstable, so she can put it out wide and let it come in on its own.
Yeah, that disc must be super overstable. Jessica just almost threw her body off of the tee pad, just ripping it out to the right, and clearly it wasn't even coming close to trying to flip over.
And Rebecca going with a Biofusion Defender here. She knows it's her most overstable disc in her bag. So she comes up a little bit short, but she's happily in bounds.
I love it. She gives it that safe kind of jump putt, little bid, and lands it right underneath the basket.
Now Jess is faced with this very difficult headwind putt. Looked like she may have been running it, but left it a little bit low. And this is common into a headwind when you get a little bit of nervousness on it.
Exactly. And headwind, you cannot expose the bottom flight plate of the disc, so just cutting through at the right height of the basket is super technical to do.
And I knew that one was pretty important. I was not excited to miss that, but I'm happy connecting on that comeback putt, knowing that no strokes were exchanged here, and it is still a 3-stroke battle going into what could be a pretty monumental hole in hole 16, the island hole here at the country club.
I like the way you talk about it, Paige, knowing that you actually are 3 sticks back. That doesn't faze you. We have the water hole. This is by far one of the biggest stroke swings. Hole 16, it's a par 3, 262 feet. If you choose completely over the water, you must land on the island. Otherwise, your choice is to lay up. If you don't do either of those, it must mean you went out of bounds and you will proceed to a drop zone. Nobody's looking for penalties. Birdies are pretty questionable. I mean, unless you're going for it, and you better completely attack with confidence. What disc did you throw there, Paige?
I threw the Classic Blend Marshall. I had decided to lay up on most of my rounds, but my friend Missy Gannon was there, who I play all my practice rounds with, and she told me, Paige, this is the moment. You have to go for this, and you are going to make it. Just trust your disc. And it really spoke something to me. Made it on the island. Unfortunately, Kat did not. She kind of hit a little bit low and hit that rock and did not stay safe. Jessica now approaching with a sidearm, doesn't quite get it enough, and she will also be OB. Both of them will be proceeding to the drop zone.
And Jessica's shot was only about 2 feet short. Kat's actually hit the island and bounced backwards. Man, and Rebecca, it looks like it's about 10 feet short to me. You got to hand it to these ladies. All 4 top card FPOs are going for this island. They are battling. They're trying to pick up some strokes. Kat lands it nicely on the island there from the drop zone. And Jessica puts it up higher than what I would have expected, but that you can see from the flag there's tailwind. She must have trusted it, and it pushed her disc to a perfect landing. Beautiful upshot there by Rebecca from the drop zone. And putting for birdie here.
There's a lot of thoughts going on in my head right now. I see that flag whipping at me. I try to shake all those thoughts.
And you are excited. You're like, let's go. Give me that SloMez.
Yeah, it's a lot to overcome physically in the wind.
Just pump.
And then also mentally in all the thoughts that go through your head. So I was really, really excited to hit that putt. And
as you should be. Oh, left side kind of spit out, not cage out, chain out. And I'm not sure what the result here is.
Yeah, and at this moment, Catrina actually threw her mini, and we kind of had an exchange here, and now we're having a secondary exchange over, is it safe, is it OB? The rule states if it's completely surrounded by water, it is out of bounds, so we're trying to decide here, is that the case or is it not?
And you can hear, Kat is pleading that her disc is not surrounded by water.
Are the rocks safe or is it the grass?
We're talking about the rocks.
It's just the water. If it's just surrounded by water, then I think it's probably safe. But
And the final ruling on that for the card.
That it was safe. It was touching a rock. We couldn't tell if that rock
smashed the basket. There's a warning for the mini pool. Okay, so a warning for
There's a bit of discussion going on between Paige and Kat at this point. You can tell there is a lot of nervousness, a lot of anxiousness between the two players. Kat is in the lead and has just had a rough hole. Paige just cashed in a birdie. Between the mini throw and potentially the actually inbounds or what could have been an out-of-bounds call, these players are entering hole 17 with a lot of extra pressure. It's a par 4, 680 foot, no easy feat. This is, I think, characteristically the second or third hardest hole on the course. So much action has just happened with stroke swing. Let's see how the ladies attack. There's only 2 holes left.
And we are now tied. I'm thinking I need to go birdie, especially with Catrina being such a great player. I know she's motivated. I'm motivated as well. And it's going to take a lot for either of us to win this competition outright.
Ooh, and Jessica is giving that a lot of action. It comes down a little bit early, but she's safe. Off of this tee box, that is all anybody wants. There's a Mando far to the right, but really the fairway it's the low-hanging trees and the out-of-bounds left that everybody's worried about. And it is a fast green. I was just getting ready to say that, which Rebecca's disc definitely found that and skipped just barely OB.
Catrina now with her D2. She's going low under the branches, but kind of gets a little bit of a wind bounce, hits the branch, and skips up near the OB flag. We cannot tell, so we will discuss it when we get down there. Jessica now with her Vulcan. Let me remind you how flippy this disc is and how much control she has on this disc to still make it fly hyzer, but unfortunately a little bit too much hyzer and goes out of bounds on the right. At this point, I'm thinking, lay it up. Of course I want the birdie. I think I have to assume Catrina's going to get the birdie, but I can't chance it. There's no way for me to get the birdie, so I choose to play safe and land in the fairway.
And I appreciate you talking about what's going through your mind here. These are the highest pressure shots any player will ever have. Coming in for one full meter from the out of bounds, setting her mini down there, and then I think that's her H2 that she just threw again. Trying to keep it safe. She barely stays inside of that long or that deep OB. The players are very excited at this point. Paige just executes a beautiful upshot. She's close enough to the basket to call stress-free tap in.
Yeah, and Catrina's approach didn't actually get as close as I would have assumed it would have. So at this point, when she walks up to her putt, she has about a 60-footer to take the birdie and get a stroke back. And that's assuming I hit my 15-footer, at which point she decides to lay up and go for the stress-free par and is now putting the pressure on me to make this tester in the wind. And we will both be moving on with a par going into the 18th hole tied.
We have Rebecca dropping in her bogey, and Jessica, same story with the bogey. Wow. Oh my goodness. We are tied. When I say we, it's Kat and Paige really. They're tied going into the 18th hole, par 3, 413 feet. If you've been watching, you know that it is over the water to make it onto the fairway. And this green is no joke. It's fast, it's skippy, it's funneling towards the water. There's OB all around. If you have a bomber shot, you could go OB deep. Remember that OB is about 4 feet off the water and about 3 or 4 feet off of those cardboard fence flags in the back.
Right out of my hand, I love this shot. It hit that branch that I wasn't even looking at, and I was just glad to be safe. I think without hitting that branch, I was going to be inside the circle, but that's not what happened, and, we just have to...
And Kat just hung this shot out way wider than anyone has seen. It lands initially 4 feet from the pin. It has a nice little skip and roll. That was the most aggressive tee shot I actually could have ever pictured seeing her throw right there. It was so much trust completely over the water. And, going into this tee box, knowing that she's tied with Paige and what a strong competitor Paige is, Kat just gave it everything she had with a lot of challenging of that OB.
Yeah, super great throw. Amazing trust on that D2. She throws that thing really well, and, it goes to show you how much confidence she has in not only her ability, but the discs she's throwing in this wind. And, she has now an 18-footer for the win, dependent on what I decide to do here.
We see Rebecca has executed a great upshot, and Jessica goes a little bit deep, but it's still, decently close. However, this is a Goliath basket. Paige, what was going through your mind right before that?
I looked at it for a minute. I waited about 20 seconds, and there was no wind lapse. And so I laid up, and I made Kat make the decision if she was going to hit it, and she definitely did. Headwind putt, 20-foot headwind putt, elevated basket for the National Tour win. Of course, she's going to fist pump happily and walk away with a well-earned victory. such a clutch birdie on this 18th hole with the wind everywhere, the biggest gallery we've had, Jomez covering us, and the whole disc golf world watching.
I mean, it's an incredible feeling. Into 218 just like that, as she did on day one. It was much different. She made a huge putt. And Paige, no small feat, taking second place. Incredible glass-blown open tournament footage. Thank you, Dynamic Discs and the PDGA. Great job to Catrina Allen on the win. Thank you for joining us. I'm Zoe Andyke.
And I'm Paige Pierce. And if you guys want any more bonus footage, let's see if Jomez decides to put out a little bit of the Raz round. The top 4 finishers in the men's and the top 4 finishers in the women's will then go on to play a 3-hole skins match. So, you know, this tournament has a lot of extra goodies, and we are super excited that you guys got to join us in this post-round coverage brought to you by Jomez. If you guys want to be updated for more, click the logo, subscribe now, and make sure you ring the bell to be alerted when each new episode drops. Thank you guys again.
Thank you for joining us.